person. So can everyone hear me?
Yep.
All right, we can get started. There's one thing, my Zoom's connected through IU, but it still cuts me off at 40 minutes. That's not a big deal. All I'll do is I'll end it at 40 and I'll just send out the same link and we join again and then we'll be fine. So that's just coming. And then we can just get back right into this. All we have to do is we're going to go through this PowerPoint that she supplied, go through an ARR at the end, and then that's all we got to do for today. All right, we can get started. So for those who don't know, well, since you guys haven't done this yet, this is what you're going to have to do for your team meeting. She'll give you the PowerPoint and any other links that she thinks you might need for it. And then this is all you got to do for the assignment. She supplies an agenda. You can change it if you want, but I would suggest just using hers because no reason to change it. And then we're going to start with an icebreaker. And we thought this was pretty important, especially because the first time we're all meeting together. So all get to know each other. So we'll just say who you are, what's your major, where you're from, and just like a fun fact about yourself. All right, so I can start. I'm Alex Williams. I'm from Fishers, Indiana. I'm studying economic consulting with a co-major in business analytics, and I'm a twin. So if someone just wants to go next.
Hello, my name is Darren G. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. My major is accounting and finance, and I have met Shaquille O'Neal before.
Oh, that's sick.
I can go next. My name is Vladislav Marinov. I'm from Zionsville, Indiana, and I'm studying, my major is supply chain management with a minor in Russian. And fun fact about me is I bought a $2,000 computer that doesn't have a camera.
I can go next.
It's like a laptop.
My name is CJ Abunassar. I'm from Naperville, Illinois, studying finance and business analytics. And when I was in middle school, I used to be nationally ranked in Guitar Hero.
All right, I'll go. I'm Nick Mattingly. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. My major is finance, and fun fact is I play water polo here for club.
Camden, if you're trying, we can't hear you if you're talking right now.
He got on mute. Or wait.
I don't think he's muted. I think it's just maybe his audio equipment.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, my mic was off with my computer, not my thing. I don't know. Anyways, my name's Camden. I'm majoring in finance with a co-major in law, ethics, and decision making. I'm from Plainfield, Indiana. It looks like we have a lot of people from Indiana in this group. And then one thing about me, I played varsity tennis, 4 years of varsity tennis in high school. There you go.
All right. So I think we just get this started. So in Compass, we're focusing on all these different ways we can improve ourselves and these soft skills that can help us in our future. And then for this week, we are focusing on self-awareness, as you all know. All right, and that's just one's ability to recognize your own emotions, recognize basically what they do to you, and then really knowing what you're capable of, where your strengths and weaknesses are, and being confident in what you can do. Yeah, so we just went over that. So why self-awareness matters. We all went through this in the, in the work going up to this, so I'm not gonna go over the stats, but we saw just how much self-awareness and EQ, emotional intelligence, really matters for the top executives and the top companies. There's a bunch of stats just showing the higher EQ you have, the more self-awareness you have, the more successful businesses will be, and just your whole careers. All right, and then we can look at a real world example here. The chief tech officer at an innovation incubator is a bully, but he doesn't know it. He's very good. He's very good at when he does, except when it comes to managing people. He plays favorites. He tells people what to do. He doesn't listen. He freezes people out that he doesn't like. If you confront him on a specific incident, he denies it. He pins the blame on someone else. He gets angry with them, or he tells you that you're the problem. Last I heard, he was about to get fired. For one thing, a boss being a bully or arrogant or stubborn is often viewed by subordinates as a sign of incompetence. Those traits correlate with poor financial results, being bad at managing talent, and inspiring people to do their best, and being a poor team leader. So, yeah, this is an example of him just having low self-awareness. And I think we've all been around, if not had like a boss or a team leader, just around like maybe a friend or someone who is off-putting like this. And it really doesn't, you don't want to do them any favors. You don't want to watch their back. You don't want to really do anything for them. So having low self-awareness can really put you down and kind of distance yourself from that group or from that leader. So we'll take it to you guys. Have you guys ever had someone you've worked with, a leader, a boss, that had really bad self-awareness and was really off-putting?
Yeah.
My first boss was terrible. I remember I was a lifeguard and she just like put the blame on everyone but herself. It was terrible. But
Yeah, I worked at a McAllister's Deli, and we had a boss that was like that, always in a bad mood, obvious favorites and everything like that. And you know, when you have a boss like that compared to like a different boss who, you know, treats everyone kindly and, you know, is good with people, when they ask you to do things, you try harder with the boss that you respect more, that you view as competent. You know, if the boss you liked wanted you to stay after, you're more likely to say, I can come in on a Friday, because you know he really needs you. You know, you are his only option there. But if you had a boss like the one outlined before, you're probably not gonna, you know, stick your neck out for him.
Yeah, I was in a group with this girl for summer class, and it was about a group work, and she would always just, whenever somebody wasn't putting in as much effort, someone else, she would always like be mean to that person or something like that. And it was like a really toxic environment, and that would change every week. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
Anyone else have a example of this?
I personally have only had, like, I've liked all of my bosses, so I got lucky.
Yeah, hopefully you can keep that streak up.
Yeah.
The only instance I can think of is in middle school. I had a basketball coach who was just like, he would come in and have like, he would be really fun, and then other days he just had like really bad mood swings. So one day we had we were a bunch of middle schoolers, and he's like, oh, let's play dodgeball today at the end of basketball practice. And so we played dodgeball, and one of the kids switched teams, and all of a sudden he like blew up for no reason, and he kicked the kid out of practice. Turns out that like after he had like a few days after our season ended, he got arrested for possession of a large amount of marijuana. So
Yeah.
pretty sure he was high as a middle school basketball coach.
Yeah, I think I don't know if you guys have all played sports, but there's a lot of coaches who have their favorites, and it really alienates everyone else from kind of wanting to work hard or do anything, because you kind of feel like no matter what you do, you're behind. So I think that's a really good example.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that too. Just playing sports growing up, and then playing for teams where my coach, their son is on the same team as you, and they definitely play favorites. And it's just like, you almost don't want to work as hard because you just know they're gonna get that leg up on you.
Yeah, you feel stuck because you know that no matter what you do, it's not gonna, if you can improve and it's not gonna help and it's not gonna be appreciated or rewarded, then why would you improve?
Yeah, politics.
Yeah. I know at my high school, at least, basketball was riddled with politics. It was insane about just, if you didn't know who to know before getting in, like, good luck to you.
Where'd you go?
Fishers High School.
Oh, okay. I'm just Chittard.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Going to Fishers.
Yeah.
Didn't we have somebody from Zionsville?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a cousin that went to Zionsville. It's probably the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's Fisher Zionsville. I think it's the same thing.
Yeah. All right. And then, but you're self-aware, right? And this comes down to, so you guys taking ethics right now?
I took an ethics.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but I forgot about the other ethics. I
Took
took an
that a
ethics
year
class
ago.
freshman year, but not this one.
Yeah. Because right now we're talking about biases, and this kind of goes along with the reading we just did this week about it's like overconfident bias. And I talked about how it polled not like Americans, and 94% of Americans think they're better, they're above average at driving, and 83% of Americans think they're more honest than the average person. And it's the same thing with self-awareness. That right here, it found 95% of people who think they're self-aware, but in the study found that only 10 to 15% really, really are. So this is something, I went too far. This is something that you kind of have to take your ego back and realize that you're probably not going to be self-aware fully, and that we need to take steps and, trying to get there. And then blind spots, same thing. People think they're a lot better at certain things. I think a good example of that, you guys ever watch American Idol? And every single person there thinks they're a great singer, and every single person's been told they're great. And then half that show's audition tapes are just them embarrassing people on national television because they think they're a good singer. And then the feel good effect, everyone likes to feel like they're good at something. Yeah, you'd feel pretty bad if all you focused on was everything you're bad at. And then it's a lot easier just to assume you're self-aware and just autopilot and not having to make any changes. I know, like, if I have like a really long week here, like right now applying to internships as we all are, it's a lot easier just to turn everything off and try not to focus on anything when we're done with the work we have to do. All right. And then as we read the difference between internal self-awareness and external self-awareness, one's just knowing what you're good at, trying to eliminate those blind spots. And then external self-awareness is knowing how other people think of you. And you can be good at one and not good at the other. So we all self-diagnosed ourselves as either an introspector, a seeker, or a pleaser. And, so could everyone, I'll start and just say which one you were. I was a pleaser.
I put myself as a seeker.
I said I was an introspector.
Introspector?
Yeah.
I said I was also an introspector.
All right. So we got everything covered. So just take a moment, think, and then try to come up with 2 ways that you can improve what you are, and then we'll all share so we can all hear from all 3 because we have one of each. Take a couple of minutes, just think about some way. You probably wrote about it in your pre-work assignment, so you can borrow from that, but just 2 ways you can improve the self-awareness on the field that you're lacking.
I can go ahead and go while everybody else is thinking.
All right.
If it's okay. So I think the 2 ways. So I said I was an introspector, and the problem with introspectors say that they're clear on who they are. Like at least I think I'm clear on who I am. But I kind of get like tunnel vision, and I don't really like challenge my own like personal belief system a lot. So I think an introspector, what they can do is ask more questions to people, like kind of seek out other opinions, because even in like projects, I have a hard time, like, I guess, listening to a difference of opinion when I'm pretty set on what I think is the right way. So I think, and then kind of hand in hand with that is just listening more instead of talking, just focusing on listening, and listening to what other people have to say.
I also kind of was thinking about the same thing like in terms of the listening part. 'Cause as I said before, I'm also an introspector, and I think like instead of just like wanting like if someone has a different view than I do, I can't just automatically assume that they're wrong, and I got to listen to why they believe that way. And I feel like usually I kind of just like no matter what they say, I still believe that I'm right.
Yeah, so I'm also introspector as well, and I said one way to just kind of move towards the aware quadrant. It's just by informing yourself on what's going on in the daily world, inform yourself what's going on with other people. So I said like reading books, reading newspapers, watching the news, just becoming more aware of what's going on outside of your own viewpoints.
Yeah, I think those are all great. It's just the key to that is just trying to broaden your perspective, and I think everything you guys said there just kind of aligns with that. It's just trying to take a little extra effort to try to see things in a different way than what you're used to. All right.
Yeah.
You were the seeker, right, Vlad?
No, I didn't say mine, but I'm an introspector too.
Oh,
And I agree with what you guys just said. So.
Yeah. Did
Oh
anyone?
yeah, I was a seeker,
All right.
and I only said I was a seeker because I don't really think about that stuff that often or like ask those questions. So like for me, it would be taking that step back, looking at the bigger picture, and asking those questions.
Yeah. Well, I think, and that all these kind of go down to like the three reasons why people aren't self-aware. And it can be that autopilot. I mean, sometimes it's exhausting to be aware because it's, you have to actively think about it. You can't just kind of go by, which is, a lot easier and it feels better, but that's how you improve on that. It's just taking those active steps. And with the introspectors, I'd put with the blind spot, it's just trying to make sure you're challenging your views. And I think I was the only pleaser here, but the ways I came up with was mainly taking time to either write or really sit down and think about how you feel about the decisions and actions that you're taking going around you, especially in like a group setting. It's important to maybe write down your ideas about like the project or whatever you're discussing ahead of time. So when you go in there and ideas start to change and morph to everyone's input, you can really still know and understand how you thought about it and before everyone else's influence really came over you. So I think kind of pleasers and inspectors kind of have similar actions or steps. They're just in opposite directions. Instead of thinking about how others might see your idea and getting a little closer to that, with pleasers, you have to be a little more selfish. You have to start thinking, what do I think I need to improve on? How does this actually make me feel? So I think those are all really good responses. Yeah, and then we're going to look at the blind spot, and simple. It's just how you see yourself can be sometimes wildly different than, how others view you. I think we've all had a friend before who thought that, they're really funny or really good at something that you had to break it to them, or like, especially with someone could have a joke that they think's really funny that everyone else just doesn't see it. So I think that's a good example of a blind spot. It's just not realizing how everyone else is seeing that, and maybe you're the one who's wrong compared to everyone else. And here we see that Korn Ferry offered an assessment which asked executives about like skills, what they thought they were good at and bad at, and then looked at what their colleagues said around them. And they said that 79% had a blind spot to one or more things. But a big thing from this study was 40% had a hidden strength or talent. And that's the thing about blind spots, is that they can go either way. People can really have low self-confidence about a skill that they, can be really, really good at. I know a lot of people when I was living in the dorms. It feels weird that, that was so long ago and how different. But when people talked about C104, every single person I ever talked to talked about, especially in my class, how bad of a public speaker they are. But some people who think they're bad and get nervous go up there and just kill it. And they're great. They're personable. They don't stutter, and they're perfect. And they just don't see themselves as that. So this next little assignment, it's a little personal. So if you want to share, you can, but this is just something to think about. Is what are you afraid to know? What do you least want to accept? And what do you sense without knowing? And these kind of go to those maybe a negative blind spot, especially. that these are just something you can think about, that maybe something you know about yourself, maybe that makes you a little uncomfortable. So you push it back to your mind that you don't try not to think about, but maybe it's something you really need to improve on and you keep pushing it off. I know I can be like that sometimes with networking, is that I get a little nervous, I get a little afraid to really reach out. So I kind of push it back and I tell myself, you know, you're doing enough networking, you're fine at it. But in reality, it's probably a skill I really need to work on and push myself to do more of. So I don't know if anyone wants to share anything like that. You know, this is a little more personal and deep, but if not, I can just move on. All right, and then these are 3 ways to kind of address your blind spots. The first one I think is kind of the most obvious one and the most effective, and it's just talking to people. This suggests talking to someone once per day and just asking about, you can ask in general, what's something that you see about me that like you see about me that I don't see, or if there's something in particular that you're worried about. You know, most people are going to see you how you are, especially the more people you ask, the more opinions you get. It's going to be the more accurate representation of you. So just talking to people and make sure you're open to those ideas can really help putting away those blind spots. And then look at data. We all took the career leader test and Compass freshman year, like the Myers-Briggs test, or just maybe you can look at the data of your successes or failure. Like the opposite of what I said earlier, there could be someone who thinks they're really good at writing or really good at public speaking. But if you've gotten a B- on your last 2 assignments, you might need to take a step back and go, maybe I'm not the best writer, and maybe I'm not the best public speaker. I know we all talked about athletics, but we've all seen somebody who thought they're a lot better at a sport or a lot better at activity than they really were. And, you know, if they're shooting 50% from the free throw line every night, they need to look at that and think, well, maybe I'm not the best free throw shooter. And that gives you an opportunity. Step back, look at yourself objectively, and then go improve on it. Because you, with blind spots, for the most part, like we saw earlier, they're negative things. And they're things that if in a perfect world, if you could improve on them, they'll just make you a better employee, a better person. So it's always important to try to look at the data and get that. And then finally, to kind of wrap up the blind spots, we're going to look at 2 ways you can try to identify blind spots and try to change them for a good effect. So if you guys have any ideas, you can start sending them out.
Maybe just like asking people if they noticed anything. Just like, obviously, if you can't see them and other people can, I feel like the best way is to just like ask if they see anything that they know that I don't see.
Yeah.
I think another thing is you could like compare yourself to what other people are doing and see like if you're doing it better or less or like worse than them.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? And then I think it's important because you can identify the blind spots, but a big part of it is kind of changing them. And it's to not really beat yourself up about it. We've seen these in the corner of all the slides. The tiny tweaks lead to a big impact. It's really hard to change yourself in one sweep. It really takes commitment and the tiny tweaks over time. Because I know we all have a friend or a family member that says they're going to start dieting and exercising. New Year's, they get the first month of the gym membership. They start pre-cooking their meals, buying things. And their main problem is that they go in too hard, too fast, and they're not really committed. They do all these big things that aren't realistic to keep up over time. And then next year, they're starting the same thing because they gave up in February. So a big part of addressing the blind spots is once you find them is to make sure you're taking reliable actions to go change them, or you're going to end up finding them over and over again. All right. And the next thing we're going to talk about is autopilot. And then, so if we could all just recall a situation where you operate in autopilot and maybe how you can fix that. The kind of the most generic thing that I autopilot the most is I find when I'm driving, like we've all driven a long time and you've had that moment where you didn't fall asleep, but you kind of wake up and realize that you've gone, another 40 miles, and it kind of blinked by because you're just you're in autopilot. And then how you prevent that from happening is you have to start kind of focusing on everything. You start making sure you look at specific things in the road. Like if you're tired, this can happen more. So one thing I like to do is start telling myself descriptions of the cars in front of me, and that kind of keeps me focused. So is there any other situations that you guys really call that you autopilot a lot, and then kind of how you could identify that's happening and trying to change it?
Well, for the past few years, like over the summers, I was a lifeguard too. I think somebody actually else mentioned that they worked as a lifeguard. But anyways, there were at some times like it was a pretty big water park, and there were some really big like long walking zones, and so you'd have to walk the whole thing. And on like slow days where there wasn't a lot of people and you're on a big long zone, you kind of could just like zone out. And it's just kind of difficult because like you'd be working for 8 hours and then you'd get to the super long zone, right? And I think it's kind of an analogy for everyday like work and everyday like assignments and homework and stuff that like you kind of just coast on through and kind of just zone out and get it done when you really should be focusing and paying attention to what you're doing.
Yeah. I was a lifeguard too. And, the sun starts wearing down on you and you're in hour 6. It's hard not to kind of slip out for a little bit.
I was also a lifeguard, and I can agree with everything that you guys have been saying.
All right,
Yeah,
and-
me too. But another situation I was thinking of is especially with online school. I feel like I can go in autopilot, like watching lectures and stuff, just turning on my laptop and just letting it play. When really I should be zoned in, focused on the content.
Yeah.
I was going to say that as well. It's been hard for online school.
Yeah.
Then one thing I found that has helped me kind of stay out of the autopilot is turning my camera on during lectures, because it kind of, you feel a little accountable, and it's a lot harder to go on your phone when there's a big camera staring at you than, if it's just cameras off. I don't know about you guys, but I have 2 monitors in front of me. I could have anything on the other monitor, and it's probably going to be more interesting than the lecture that's going on. So I think a big part of autopilot is just taking maybe steps in advance to try to get yourself out of that. And then anyone want to talk about a situation before we move on? All right. And then now we're going to talk about the implications of operating on autopilot. So if you are operating on autopilot or you notice someone else's, what does that tell you?
Just you don't care.
Don't care.
It's all the same to them.
All the same. Maybe that they're not putting, they're not putting in the effort that everyone else in the group, like if we're talking about a group project, we've all had someone just kind of sit back and let it go by. They're not putting in the effort that everyone else is. Yeah. So, it kind of shows an indifference. And then we talked about ways that we can address autopilot, and it's just kind of actively thinking, during a group meeting, active listening, making sure you're nodding when you should, agreeing with certain points, disagreeing with ones that you don't like, just making sure you stay engaged, because it's so easy. Once you start autopiloting, it goes on for a while. You could, just slip and then 5 minutes go by and you don't remember a single thing anyone said. All right. And then these are different ways to address autopiloting, all the way around your life. Meditation, just the act of concentrating your thinking, focusing on the present. Change your routine. It's really like, I know with the driving example earlier, it's a lot easier to go on autopilot when I drive to IU, because I've made that drive so many times. But if I'm going down to Chicago to a place I've never been before, once you're in the city, you're probably not going to go on autopilot, and then know and live your purpose and stop solving a problem. It's just different things to keep your mind engaged. now it's important to look at your emotions as a leader. And this is a great quote: when your mind is full of anger, other people catch it like the flu. You know, it's just the idea that the emotions you put out, they're contagious. I know, well, I don't know if all of you have experienced this, but like when you lived at home and your parents fought, what that would do to your house, it just sucks all the energy. You know, everyone kind of stays out of each other's way and it has this uneasy energy. And I know, I forget who, but someone talked about having someone in the group who was mean to people, like
Yeah.
about their ideas and like their work. And that just makes everyone not want to talk. It makes everyone want to get the meeting done. And I know I've had some groups that you could tell everyone didn't want to be there and everyone was tired and bored. And when you do like the brain sessions for the ideas, people go with the first one because that's the one that'll get them out of the meeting faster. Now, the good news about this, it goes both ways with excitement. I don't know about you, but I've noticed that you'll have friends that can always take you on anything. You know, you have a friend that's always so positive and, you know, has this energy about them. Or maybe like a professor that could always get you engaged because they just have this aura around them that, you know, gets you out of any stress or anxiety, sadness that you were experiencing before. Yeah, and it's the same thing. It's really with any emotion. So we're going to go on to this activity. Now, this is another one that might be a little personal. So you can either write it down or just think about it. But just think about an emotion that, like a difficult emotion that you felt recently, and think about kind of 3 different beliefs that you've had about it and kind of the consequence of those beliefs. I can give an example right here. I've been stressed out about an internship, you know, looking for internships, jobs, especially with COVID. You don't know where you're going to go. Even if you get an internship and that might not where, you know, you might not go to the place you want to be. And you don't know how much of it's due to COVID or how much of it's kind of how you set yourself up. And some beliefs I have around that anxiety is that I think that stress and anxiety really stacks on each other. That if you don't kind of take care of it as it comes, it bottles up and then it just gets harder and harder to deal with. And a consequence of holding that belief is that sometimes I can give you a little more anxiety because you know you have to deal with it when it comes. And that's even more stressful with everything you kind of have stacked on your plate. So we can just take a couple minutes and everyone just think about this. And you can share if you want, but if not, just try to think to yourself. Like get the ARR ready. All right, and while you think about that, I'm just gonna go ahead and reset the Zoom meeting. And then I'll put the link back in the group meet if everyone joined, and then we'll finish out the rest of this.
All right.
And I will start sharing again. Just give me 1 sec. All right, there we go. So everyone had a chance to think about that. If anyone, I know we're still waiting on a couple more people, sorry. All right, we're just waiting on one more. All right. Who we waiting on still?
I think CJ.
Yeah, CJ.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. All right, ready to get started. So while we all thought about that, I'm gonna share her example that she gave, and hers was anxiety about the ICOR finance class. And then 3 beliefs she gave was if others tell you, if you tell others about your anxiety, others will think you won't belong in Kelly. You could think that finance must come easy to others. And if you tell other students that you're struggling and anxious, they will hold it against you in a team setting, maybe. So if you tell your ICOR group that maybe you're not doing too well in marketing or something, they're gonna probably might think down about you when the case comp comes. So those are just some things that we all can all feel, and how some they can weigh down on you.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to share, if not, we can just move on.
I can elaborate on the girl I talked about. It was just my emotion was frustration
Mm-hmm.
with her being head of the group, because she was grading us on how we were doing, because she had she had the power to do that from the professor said to do that, and so just out of frustration, nobody could talk about it, because it was just, you would get met with hostility if you were to mention it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just no progress. It's just very just a very hostile environment, I guess.
Yeah, frustrating to
Frustration.
deal with. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like the more and more you talk about it, the more it sounds like that basic example we had at the beginning.
Yeah.
All right, but we can move on to the last thing for the presentation. That's just self-awareness changes your thinking. And that can be anywhere from understanding your emotions and how we talked about how contagious they are. And if you understand, if you're, because there's going to be times you do have emotions and you're not going to be able to change that. You're going to be angry about something, you're going to be sad. But it's just having that awareness to kind of see that and maybe try to do whatever you can to push it back or not let it be as contagious to the people around you. And then all the way to like blind spots where it might just be a characteristic or just something you're bad at good at, and then being mindful of that changes how you act on that. If you suddenly realize you're no good at finance, and even though you thought you were, if you know that, you're gonna start going to more office hours, you're gonna find a study group. So self-awareness can really change your thinking and lead you to the better. And then now the last thing we're going to do is just talk about some tiny tweaks to maybe some blind spots or some weaknesses that you have or someone else might have. Just some tiny tweaks that can lead to getting out of autopilot, changing a blind spot, or anything like that. So I can start and giving some examples. Like I talked about earlier, just turning your camera on for an online lecture makes me feel guilty for not paying attention. Because even though they're probably not looking at you, they could be. So it makes me want to not get on my phone or anything. One thing this summer I was really bad at is I stay up really late and I'd sleep till like noon. So I would start waking up, 11 o'clock, a couple weeks before school started. I don't know if we're all in the same iCorp. I'm in the 8 a.m. So yeah,
Same.
I know it's sad, but
Not me.
it's a
2
lot
o'clock.
better. It's a lot better online because I can wake up at 7:55. But it's the same thing, just start waking up at 10 and then 9 before. And that's something I've been trying to do on the weekends here to not mess up my sleep schedule. I've been trying to wake up for 10 o'clock, even on the weekends, so I don't get into a bad habit. Tiny tweak could also include leaving your phone in a drawer across the room when you do your online lectures. So you're not, you don't feel like you have to do it. And just little things like that lead to a big impact in how much you autopilot and pay attention in class. So if everyone could just, think of some other tiny tweaks that you can do in your life to solve different problems.
The tiny tweak I came up with was just, it's pretty simple. It's just get my work done a day early. So if I have an assignment due on what is today? If I have an assignment due on the 20th, it's done by the 19th. I have a tendency to procrastinate and pull my work off to the last minute that it's due. So I'm just like, I want to alleviate that stress because it's not really necessary stress. So I just pretend everything's due a day early.
I would say for me, try to stop multitasking during lecture because you're getting something else done, but then you're gonna have to go back over the content that you kind of halfway missed during the lecture.
Yeah.
I usually like my tiny tweak would probably be I'm gonna try to do all my schoolwork in like this apartment lounge that we have because I find that when I try to do schoolwork in my room, I like see things around me to distract me, like people, like my roommates hanging out, or just like I want to play Xbox or something. But if I'm in like a lounge, it'll just keep me to only do schoolwork and not get distracted.
Yeah. Anyone else? All right. Yeah, but that tiny tweaks leads to a big impact. We saw it at the bottom right of every slide in this presentation because self-awareness is a really good skill to have, but it doesn't mean anything if you can't act on it. And the tiny tweaks is how you act on that. All right, and that's the end. So the final thing we're gonna do, we just finished the slides and everything. So we have to do an ARR. So let me pull that up real fast. All right. Now, for those that don't remember, an ARR is something we looked at in that first week of the online, like before anyone had to present. And it's just one of those tools for an online, something you do after every meeting. It's an after action review. So we just have to talk about what did we expect to happen, what really happened, what went well and why, and what can be improved and how. So I just have this up here. And if, so like, what do we all expect to happen today? Just get a couple bullet points, a couple ideas for each of these, and we should be ready to go.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really know what to expect when coming into this, considering it's our first one.
Yeah,
Yep.
same.
Like, I maybe thought that there would be some stuff related to the material that we learned in like the modules, but other than that, I didn't really know what was gonna come out of this.
Yeah, so like a repeat of what we saw in the modules. Yeah, and that's things, we just kind of, when you guys go, she just kind of goes over that PowerPoint and you basically do everything that we did today. You go out into breakout rooms and do every activity that we do. So it's kind of, a little weird just kind of coming up with how to run this here. So same thing, like first time, kind of feel it out. All right. Yeah, that's kind of, and then, we expected to see self-awareness and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what really happened? So this is kind of, strange, but it kind of goes into the next part of, what kind of was different from your expectations of what happened today, kind of what you thought it was. So any differences you guys saw?
You could put this.
Interactive.
More interactive, yeah.
Yeah, I expected it to be kind of like just like a boring review, but you actually did a really good job presenting it.
Yeah,
Letting it be very interactive.
I definitely agree with that. I was not expecting the conversation to be so good today. And so I definitely say thank you to Alex for that. It was really great today.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Nice
appreciate
job.
that.
I was also nervous not having met anybody. I
Yeah.
was also nervous that the first time was going to go really rough. So good job.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things. So I did change her PowerPoint a little bit, none of the content, but in the beginning, the icebreaker was what's like the most boring fact about yourself? Because it's, she probably chose that because it's different. And then when I went, there's, so many people there, you can't really do a real icebreaker. So everyone just putting that in the chat. But I figured, since this is our first meeting, we never seen each other, to kind of focus on that, what we talked about in the same module as the AAR, is that like being able to give everyone a chance to speak. And I tried to focus on that because just get everyone comfortable with each other. All right. And then final one, because we went over what really happened and what went well in one step right there. But what can be improved, do you think? It doesn't, I know it might be weird to say anything about me, but maybe about the format, maybe something you thought about how the PowerPoints are set up, maybe in the order of everything that came up.
Oh, only thing that I would say is improved, and it's like insanely minor because it's still really easy to work out. We should next time let's email the Zoom meeting. Can you email it to us?
Oh yeah.
Cause yeah, I got it on my phone, and so I had to this the only, and it's just not big at all. It's the only thing I would recommend for next time.
Yeah. Now, did you guys think about more interactive parts, more informations, less definite, maybe going over less stuff that we already saw in the modules because there's some repeat stuff in there, maybe going in just more discussion? Did anything like that?
I mean, I thought the interactive stuff was pretty beneficial, so I don't think more of that couldn't hurt, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right. And then the final thing, I'm going to link a Google Doc in the chat. I'm gonna stop sharing. And it's for two reasons. If you could put your name, your email, and then feedback, you have to put feedback for me. And so we're just kind of I need to get the feedback out. And then I also need to take attendance. So if you just put your name and name, email, and some feedback in there, then we're going to be all set to go today.
Could you also share the PowerPoint with us?
Yes, I can. I will do that while you guys answer that. Where's my chat?
Really good job, Alex. Thanks for doing this today, man.
Yeah, you set the bar really high, dude.
Thanks,
You
Alex.
did really well.
Thank you. All right. So everyone tell me if that link works, and I'll get the PowerPoint to you guys.
It works.
Yep.
I got a request to edit access though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How do you do that?
I think
There we
you
go.
might have to
All
send
right.
out another link.
Yeah.
Share it so people.
There
can-
we go. That should be, anyone who does that should be able to edit.
There we go.
There we go. Someone's in there.
All right, cool.
What's the thing we have to submit tomorrow? Is that just like,
I think I'm the only one that has to submit.
okay.
Looking, I can double check, but yeah, for you guys doing it in the future, because we just a little bit. It's just some questions. You submit your recording of the team meeting, the AAR, and then you respond to some questions. You say the summary of the feedback, what you liked about the meeting, what you would have done differently, what tools you tried to use. So yeah, I think I'm the team lead. It's a self-assessment, so I think I'm the only one who puts anything in there. So all you guys need to do, I'll just put your, all you had to do is show up, and I'll put your thing right in there, and I'll give you the link to the PowerPoint right here. And it has the PowerPoint, and then also there's a career leader thing that can help you with some feedback with some blind spots that you can also take a look at. All right. And then when you're done at that, I think we're ready to head out.
All right.
Cool.
Nice
Thanks,
job
guys.
again, Alex.
Good
All right,
job,
thanks
Alex.
for showing
Thank
up.
you.
How about
Good job.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
See ya.
Later.